You clicked this video because you like my model, or you want to hear an artist talk at you in the background while you draw. No matter what, you're in the right place. If you are unfamiliar with my work, here is my model in all of her glory and splendor and lower half that you don't normally see. Now let's talk about her. My model is an original character belonging to a modern fantasy project of mine where gods are based off constellations. Two of the older models I've made on this channel before are also from that universe, Elle and Winter, but I made them before I had really decided I wanted to make videos, more for the fun of learning to use Live 2D, which is kind of a crazy statement now that I think about it. So I set about designing a new character, one who I specifically made for using in videos just like this one. In terms of the design, I started by going down the list of modern constellations and picking one that wasn't already being used. I love animals, cats most of all, so I ended up going with lynx because Felis is actually already being used. So I had somewhere to begin, a humanoid god who would have the features of a lynx. Then I looked into what a lynx can represent, things like primal instinct, attunement with the natural world, and the skill of a hunter. And I thought about what kind of role someone like this could fill in my story. After a lot of deliberation, I decided that they would be a minor deity who is the god of beasts. This was also fitting because my career as a real person is related to animals. Finally, she needed a name. I wasn't just going to use my username because this character, well, she represents me. She is not actually me, nor is she meant to be a persona. I settled on alkora, which is adapted from Alcor, one of the stars in Ursa Major. I quite literally went down the wiki page for proper names of stars and looked for one I liked the sound of, then adapted it just a little bit to make it what I needed. With a broad idea of who Alkora would be, I put down a couple personality notes, deciding that she would be curious, adventurous, and someone who loves nature. It's time to move on to the design. So, how did I design her? Her appearance was actually the easy part. I took colors and motifs that I like and tried not to make her look too similar to any of the characters I already have. If you aren't someone who designs characters or this is your first time, this isn't even something you'll have to worry about. You can do whatever you want. For picking color palettes, I tend to pick one or two colors and look at a color palette generator for the rest. Or if you have no idea where you want to start, you can go right to the color palette generator. Those colors ended up being purple and these kind of bluish colors that you see in her hair and her jacket. Everything else is complementary. Things like black, which is neutral and goes with everything, and gold, which plays very nicely with the ultraviolet in her hair. The other colors you see are variations of the purple and blue that I started with, some darker blues for the tail of her coat, and some lighter purples for the ends of her braids, her lashes, and a couple other details. Even the silver metal in her facial piercings is actually kind of a dusty purple-black color that's based off the color of her hair. A rule of thumb is not to go over 5 or 6 colors, but I like to use shades of the same color, as in lighter or darker, to get a little more mileage out of my limited palette. I gave her huge double braids because I wanted her to have long curly hair, but I also wanted her hair to be somewhat contained because she's adventurous, and there isn't really anyone on my roster with braids like that already. I also added a lot of piercings and purple makeup because those are parts of who I am, along with the gold skin tone and freckles. Though again, she isn't literally meant to be me, I am using her as an avatar, so I wanted some superficial similarities. I also just like those things. You'll notice that most of my characters have one or both of these traits. I simultaneously love and dread outfit design. The outfit alone, of which I consider the makeup and hairstyle part of the outfit, can say so much about a character just by first glance. For Alkora, I wanted something regal but adventurous. Not as formal as someone like Elle with her long starry gown, or Winter with her roughly Victorian look, but something fantastic enough to suit a god made of stars nonetheless. A big source of inspiration was blue mages from the Final Fantasy series, who wear tailcoats and white tights. Blue mages are also magic users whose power comes from studying monsters and learning to use wild magic, which I thought was very fitting for Alkora. This look still made her look powerful and magical, but was just playful enough to bring out that curious, adventurous side of her. With the overall silhouette established, next came the small details. I wanted her design to reference animals great and small, not just mammals. She has stripes and claws to support her lynx theming alongside the huge ears, and on the opposite end of the spectrum, her clothing is based off of butterflies. Her bodysuit and tailcoat are patterned like monarch wings, and her boots quite literally have butterflies on them. The little strand of flower in her braid is milkweed, a detail that one could very reasonably argue is unnecessary, but I felt it supported the nature theming, and I like flowers, what can I say? Her ear cuff is either a lizard or a tiny dragon depending on how you look at it, just to get that reptile representation in there, and her dangly paw print earring both adds a little bit of interest to her silhouette and looks great in live 2D. Remember, if you're designing a character to be rigged in live 2D specifically, it can be helpful to imagine what it might look like when it's moving. Be mindful of details that would obscure the face, be too distracting to a viewer, or bring on motion sickness, or look bad on a green screen like something that's translucent or transparent. On the other end, big dangly things like earrings can look really fun without being too much. Overall, I wanted enough details to make her fun and interesting, but not so many details that I absolutely dread drawing her. I am not an artist that likes drawing a million little details. Some people are, and that's great, I'm just not one of them. I designed a character that I would enjoy drawing more than once, but one that has enough going on where I wouldn't get bored of her. To end off with a few closing remarks, my model is made up of things that I like to look at, things I like to draw. It uses my favorite colors alongside a few complementary colors. It uses motifs that I love, like stars, cats, butterflies, glitter, lace, all the things that I just really enjoy. At the end of the day, one could say that this character is just another cat girl, and on the surface, that's true. But what's most important to me is that I'm excited to work on her. I love looking at her, and I love seeing her in my videos. I love thinking about her role in my story. I'm so excited to work with her more. I already have extra outfits planned. I already have other hairstyles planned. I have so many ideas for this character, and I am so excited to keep working with her. So no matter what you do, make something that you're excited to talk about. Make something that you're excited to work with. And if you're excited enough about it, someone might just click on a video for the sheer purpose of hearing you talk about that character. And I think that's wonderful.